Welcome everyone. So excited for this live stream today because something huge is bound to happen in the real estate market in 2025. And that's what I want to talk about today because honestly, it's all over the place, right? Things seem to be the same in some areas, things seem to be changing in some areas, but it's bound to change, right? So we don't actually know what's going to happen. But a lot of real estate professionals like to try and predict what they think is going to happen. Let me turn the music down a little bit. And I do that too, right? I love it because, again, I don't exactly know what's going to happen. I don't know if we are going to get this huge inventory supply, right? Something's going to happen. The dam is going to break, and all these homes are going to come to the market because interest rates are going to drop down to the 4% range. Homes are going to start dropping in value, right? So it's actually going to be more affordable to buy a home in 2025, right? We don't know. Unfortunately, there is no crystal ball for real estate. And if there's ever an agent or a broker out there or a mortgage lender or a real estate attorney that is trying to tell you that I have this crystal ball and this is what I know is going to happen, not what I think is going to happen in 2025, this is what I know is going to happen in 2025, make sure that you run away from them. Just run away. Don't listen because there are no crystal balls in real estate. We have no idea what's going to happen, right? And things are changing pretty quickly. Things are absolutely changing quickly. And I want to make sure that I get this video out there that's talking about 2025. And I'll probably make a follow-up video to this before 2025 comes around. And the reason for this video specifically stemmed from an article that I read that I want to share with you. And we're going to get right into it. And also make sure you stick around to the end, because I am going to play that new fun game, which is why is that home sitting on the market? I'm workshopping titles. Please, I need some feedback from you. What should I call this, right? Because I honestly don't know what I should call it. But it's just an honest view of some homes in my market that are actually sitting on the market for too long. And I'll just give my opinion on why I think it is that these homes are sitting on the market. So let's jump right into this awesome article that I read from Housing Wire. I love Housing Wire. They give a lot of great information about the real estate market. So if you are a real estate market data person, or you just want more information about real estate, then Housing Wire is a great resource. So it starts off by saying, as 2025 approaches, the U.S. real estate market is marked by contradictions. I love this, that are leaving many confused, myself included, right? And it's not just on my end, as a real estate broker, it's not just being confused about interest rates and supply and homes sitting on the market in certain areas, right? It actually has a lot to do with the NAR lawsuit too, right? So things are changing on that end. And if you're not prepared as a real estate professional, then you don't know how to guide your clients properly. And things can still change too, because it's not until November that everything will be potentially set in stone. So things can go back, right? Everything can change. There's so much confusion. Mortgage rates, rental patterns. That's a very interesting one. I can't wait to talk about that. Home ownership dreams. Housing trends across the country are all seemingly colliding in ways that create both opportunities and uncertainties, right? Opportunities and uncertainties. And I love that it talks about opportunities because that's a big thing. A lot of home sellers and home buyers don't really think about the potential opportunity that they have when they're deciding on selling or buying. It's a complex landscape where the tension between renting and owning is more pronounced than ever, which was very interesting. And regional differences in housing demand highlight the uneven nature of the market. So here are the 5 real estate contradictions that we're seeing as we start to close out 2024. I have additional notes on this. Well, I did a lot of research into it, so I want to make sure that this is valuable for you. And again, because the videos that I make are always geared towards sellers. I want to empower sellers to feel comfortable and confident when it's time for them to actually sell their property. That's a very big thing for me. And again, if you have any questions, make sure you just jump in and ask them. Any questions, just jump in and ask them. Make sure you put a couple question marks before it so I know it's a question rather than just a comment. And I welcome all comments too. Come on, man. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this. So This is the buzz right now. So despite Fed cuts, mortgage rates remain stubborn. I actually saw earlier in the week when I was doing my research that they were in the sevens again and have since gone down again. One of the most glaring contradictions as we head into 2025 is the persistence of high mortgage rates despite efforts by the Fed to cut interest rates in late 2024. So the Fed lowered the basis or lowered the Fed interest rate, which mortgage interest rates generally are priced in before that happens. They base it on so many different criterias, such as the housing market, the job market, inflation, and things like that. So they, in anticipation of the Fed's lowering the Fed rate by 50 basis points or half a percent, mortgage rates went down. And it was great because they got to like the low sixes. So people who had purchased and had been a homeowner for an extended period of time, maybe 6 months or more, and maybe they purchased 7.5% or even closer to 8%, they were able to refi if they were staying on top of it and if their lender was staying in touch with them and get down to the low 6%, which is great, right? And then there's all kinds of different products and you could potentially buy down the rate even more, right? So people might have been even getting into the 5%, which was great. But then it shot up again. And that's what it's so strange. Many hope these cuts would lead to lower borrowing costs and re-energizing the for-sale housing market. So that's the for-sale housing markets is essentially properties that are currently on the market, not coming soon, or not people that are thinking about listing in 2 or 3 months. The active inventory, all right? Yet home borrowing costs have only marginally dipped. As of early October, the 30-year fixed rate stood at 7.2%. And again, it went down to the low sixes and then went back up. But it's expected to be, they thought it was going to be below 6%. It didn't necessarily get there. I mean, 15-year, it did. And some other kind of load products, I believe an FHA was at like 5.99, which is great. Anyway, the lingering effects of inflation, bond market volatility, and lender caution have tempered any significant drop in borrowing costs, leaving many prospective buyers still priced out of the market, right? And that's really frustrating because a lot of home buyers were hoping that they were going to be able to benefit from lower rates, especially home sellers, right? In those areas where their homes were sitting on the market for an extended period of time. And this has a huge, interest rates have a huge effect on sellers who are currently on the market, especially those who are sitting on the market where the market is slower than it is other places in the US. Like, again, for my market, it's not really normal to be listed for a month or more. It's just not. I mean, especially like in my immediate area. So Greater Philadelphia is a very, very, very large area, very large. You have about 5 different counties, including Philly, the actual city, right? So it's a huge area. But if I look at like directly in Downingtown and Westchester area, those homes are flying still, right? So if it's on the market for 30 days, like something's going on. I don't know exactly what, but something is going on. So home sellers that are in these areas like Florida and unfortunately parts of North Carolina, and then those other markets that are sitting a little bit longer, the Austin, Texas Austin, Texas, those home sellers were hoping that mortgage rates would go down so more buyers would be in the market and could potentially afford their home. But here's the thing, that is it's a little bit of a standstill right now. So as a seller, the high mortgage rates means fewer buyers. It means fewer buyers that are actually interested in your property. And that is an issue. So if rates are high and inventory is an issue and there's fewer buyers, or if your home's been on the market for an extended period of time and there's not as many people looking, that means you're not going to get that many offers. And you're going to essentially have to just stay on the market or continue reducing the price down to a level where they're, if you're listed at 525 and there's not that many buyers for it, then you might have to drop it down to 490, right? 495. where there's more buyers available. It's different in every single market. So this again is going to extend the house sitting on the market and impacts the perceived value. And that is an issue again for sellers. So really, if you want to think about it strategically, what you have to do, and this is what I'm trying to tell a lot of people, you have to stage your home really well. And I have an awesome video coming out this week, actually, all about this big mistakes that home stagers make. Or not not home stagers specifically, homeowners make when it comes to staging your home. So like staging is really important right now. So from a strategic move, make it stand out in a competitive market. So the things that make your home stand out in a competitive market: pricing, staging, and location, right? And you really can't change the location that much. Actually, you can't change it at all. Your house is where it is. It is where it is, you know? So if your house is where it is, then you have to do something that really makes your property stand out amongst the competition. Staging is going to do that. The price is going to do that. And then marketing from your real estate agent, whoever you're working with. And if you're selling your home by yourself, then you better make sure that you're marketing your property well, right? Because if you're not, it's not getting in front of the most amount of eyeballs possible, then you're not getting offers. So that's very important. There are the strategic moves that I want you to focus on. Pricing competitively is also attracting fewer buyers who can afford a mortgage at these higher rates. Again, in my opinion, in difficult markets where it's hard to move a property, pricing, staging, and making sure that your home is well taken care of. And also another thing, here's a bonus for you, is making sure that it's maintained, not just well taken care of. Make sure that it's maintained. Make sure that all the systems are in working order and they have been inspected. Like this is, if you're in one of these markets where it's hard to move your property, and I also don't think this is a bad idea for most sellers, but like get a pre-listing home inspection. Be aware of things that are going to come up on a home inspection from a buyer. If you get ahead of that, and then you can address it, then you know, there's no issues when the buyer actually has their home inspection. And you can present it to them. Say, have this home inspection from this reputable home inspector. These are the findings. This is what I addressed. And this is what I didn't address. Maybe I didn't think it was that big of an issue, right? So it's okay. You don't have to do everything, but I truly think it's a good idea. Thanks, Jenny. All right, so let's get back into this. Many of those in the market to buy a home are frustrated by this mismatch. They watch as monetary policies ease, but mortgage rates, often viewed as the gateway to home ownership, remain stubbornly high, creating a widening gap between desire and affordability. And that's the big issue, right? And I've been talking about that, and most people are talking about that as well, is that the fact that these homes are unaffordable. You know, it sucks. The average price point in my area is just like, it's in the 500s now. I believe it's like low 500s. That's crazy. That's crazy, you know, and homes are just unaffordable. And what the builders are building now aren't necessarily affordable housing at all, you know. So we're getting apartment complexes built around here. We're getting townhome complexes built around here, which not that many people, I mean, there is a desire for, or maybe not a desire, but a need for people to live in townhomes. Now, there's always someone who doesn't want to, they want to live in an HOA in a townhome community where all the exterior stuff for the most part is taken care of. But in addition to the apartment complexes, and then you have the townhome communities, then you have the single family home communities. They're like $1 million. 800, 900,000, right? So it's not very affordable. And that's such a big issue right now. I wish I had the answer to fix the affordability crisis, but I absolutely do not. I just understand that it is a big issue and it needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed quickly too, because I don't know. And I'm going to talk about it, you know, and actually next, renting versus home ownership, because a lot of people now, there's rentals everywhere, but home ownership still remains the gold standard. People still want to buy homes and own their property. But in a lot of areas across the US, they are forced to rent just because it is so much less of a financial burden for them. And that's what this next section talks about. In major cities and suburban markets alike, renting is not just more common, but often the only feasible option for those priced out of home ownership. Renting by choice, it's these people or sometimes it's not even by choice. Sometimes it's just like, I absolutely have to do this. It's not my choice. I want to buy a home. I may have, a certain amount of money saved up, but I just can't afford what the mortgage is going to be. I can't afford what the taxes are going to be and the maintenance and all that. Renting by choice is also on the rise as it offers flexibility, less financial commitment, and freedom from the burden of property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, what I just talked about. I actually did a live stream last week. So if you go back, and those are the 3 killers right now for people that are currently who own homes and they have purchased in the past few years, where they're in these areas where the taxes have gone up from being reassessed. Homeowners insurance has gone up all across the US, and especially in certain areas that have been affected by these major climate events. And then you have home maintenance. Like, a lot of people don't realize how much it actually costs to own a home on a yearly basis. And the people that purchased in the past couple of years who may have, and there's a good portion of these people, waived home inspections. So they went in blind, essentially. You only know what you know, right? So if you're not a general contractor, you're not a home builder, you're not in the home profession trades, you only know what you know. That's why you rely on having a home inspection done, because the home inspector is going to point out all these issues. So with home maintenance specifically, these people are going in blind. Like, what are you doing? And it's just part of the market. And that sucks. It's just part of the market, and it's very unfortunate. And a lot of people are getting bit by that now. Excuse me. An increasing number of people are choosing to rent long-term, seeing it as a lifestyle choice that fits with modern mobility of a remote, work-driven world. In 2024, about 34% of households were renting in the US. So that's really eye-opening. 34% of people are renting properties in the US, and they're seeing it as not necessarily what they want to do, but some people are doing it because they do want to rent, and they're seeing it as a smart financial option and a smart financial choice. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. Yet, despite the growing portion of renters, either by necessity or choice, homeownership remains the gold standard in the US. So it still is. Like, people still want to own home. People still want to build equity. The vast majority of equity in the US is built in properties that people own. It's only a small portion who take investing seriously besides just owning a home. So I'm talking about stocks and 401ks and self-directed IRAs and all that. Like, it's only a small portion of the US population that actually invests money. So when people buy homes and they build a lot of equity in them over the years, that's generally the majority of their net worth. And that's where the vast majority of people in America. So it's still the gold standard. And here, renting is a lifestyle choice because it's really due to flexibility, the low maintenance costs, and the freedom to travel and work from different places, right? Because who knows? Like, I don't even know where rent's affordable right now, but renting for the most part is cheaper than purchasing a home for the most part in the majority of areas, because of how high interest rates are. And it's attractive. It's attractive to people that are like digital nomads, right? So they want to work from different areas. They don't want to be tied down to owning this home. Maybe they find somewhere where they can rent for 6 months and then travel to the next city 6 months and then the next city, right? So they're almost renting on midterm basis. So they're not locking in the 12-month leases. And they're thinking, hey, I'll just go back and forth, right? That's becoming more of a thing because the dream of owning a home and being a homeowner is out of reach for a lot of people. And again, this goes back to the affordability crisis that we're in and just how damn expensive everything is. Homeownership is still the dream though. Despite the rise in renting, owning a home is still culturally seen as a milestone. So people still really enjoy that. And they want to feel like they own something, that it's theirs. And that's important. I mean, it's important to me. And I know it's important to a lot of other people as well. So as a seller, I want to emphasize the value of home ownership in your marketing to tap into buyers who are still prioritizing owning property even in a challenging market, right? So that's pretty unique. That's pretty unique to do because when you're selling your home, you're selling a lifestyle. It's not just about the house. Like there's so much more to it. When I think about all the places that I've lived, living in Philly and then coming out and moving to the suburbs, like what really attracted me is the lifestyle of being in the suburbs and not being in the city, and then eventually it's like, I knew I wanted to have a family, and it's like the school districts out here are significantly better than in the city. Right. So I was attracted to that. And then when my wife and I bought our first house together, it was the lifestyle of where the home is located in connection to where are the shops, where are the parks, right? Because we have a family now, we have dogs, we want a yard, we want space, we want all these things. So like when you're selling a property, you're not just selling a house, you're selling a lifestyle, you're selling a home. And that's important to mention in the marketing and really get that across, right? But your agent has to be careful because they don't want to go against any kind of housing discrimination too. So it's really just like emphasizing and selling that lifestyle that's very important. Highlight features of your home that offer stability, like newer appliances and energy efficient upgrades, which minimize long-term costs, right? I feel like we're entering a real estate market of people wanting things to be maintenance free for an extended period of time, because nothing is completely maintenance free. Even if you buy a new construction home, it's not completely maintenance free forever, right? But people want security of owning a home maintenance free that isn't necessarily focused on them having to devote all of their time to keeping up with the home. You know, I think that's kind of like where the market's going. So that seller, the seller, if you can really highlight that and show buyers, hey, my home is in great shape. I've done all these things to it. I've maintained it over the years. I had all the major systems looked at before I'm listing it. That's the direction that I think it's going to appeal to more buyers, right? Because, you have the trade-offs, and the trade-offs are essentially, it's selling your home as is. It's a completely different buyer. And it's not the majority of buyers by any means. If you're selling your home as is, like you're definitely not in the majority you're not attracting that buyer pool that's in the majority. It's a very certain person who's willing to buy a home as is, especially ones that need a lot of work. But the vast majority of people want something that is move-in ready, where they know they don't have to spend a lot of time and effort on it. The vast majority of people are like that. And that's what you need to focus on moving forward, going into 2025 and 2026 and beyond. That's what I think personally is that shift is happening. All right. So the contradiction is clear. Many people increasingly value freedom. Freedom. People want freedom. They don't want to be tied down. That rentals provide in today's fast-paced mobile society, yet owning a home continues to be the ultimate success, right? That's still the success that people want. And if you're a future buyer, because I do often, and for the majority, work with sellers who are first-time sellers or move-up buyers, move-up sellers, whatever you want to say, because you have people that are downsizing. I actually like to say upsizers. Upsizers, someone that's selling a starter home and then they're buying another property, right? So they're selling a property that may be smaller or in a townhome community or in a condo, something like that, and they want to buy a single family home, buy something with a little bit more land that they can plant their flag in for years and decades to come, right? So for you, once you do sell your property and you become that future buyer, you have to consider whether renting temporarily might make sense after you sell your home, especially in an area where inventory is still low. And that is the majority of the US is still in an inventory crisis. I know you can highlight certain segments of the US and say, well, this isn't a seller's market here. This is a neutral market or more of a buyer's market. But the fact is, the majority of the US is still in a seller's market. And we're still seeing that inventory crisis, especially in my main market. So if you value flexibility or you want to wait for interest rates to drop, which they will over time, renting may give you more breathing room. However, if you are committed to buying, focus on homes that offer long-term value, like those in appreciating areas or with modern features that minimize maintenance costs. Minimizing maintenance costs. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for moving forward. You have to really think about the home that you're buying and what the maintenance is going to be. If you're a blockhead like me and you bought a home that was built in 1935, having never lived in a home that was that old, I didn't realize all these things were going to come up, man. I don't know. The house is in great shape. The sellers left it in great shape. They did a lot of upgrades to it, but still, the home was built in 1935. So things happen, things break, right? So you really have to take that into consideration. After you sell and you cashed out on your equity, what are you going to do now? Do you want to rent short term, or you going to go right into that buyer's market or right into that buyer pool and become a buyer? That's the trade-off, right? Because and I speak for my specific market, like you can sell like that. You still can. It's still a very highly seller-driven market. But then if you're buying, you're in the same position of all the other people who are looking to buy as well. It's something to really consider. So consider marketing your home to buyers as the forever home, somewhere they can stay for a very long time, emphasizing stability, equity building, and value for those seeking home ownership over renting. We're going to seek home ownership over renting, man, because renting is often not seen as financially smart. And this was very interesting to me. This is a little bit eye-opening, yet it can foster affluence. Another contradiction lies in how renting is typically perceived as a less financial savvy choice compared to home ownership. After all, monthly rent payments don't build equity, and the money is often seen as loss compared to a mortgage, which helps buyers build wealth through property value appreciation. Again, just going back to what I already said, one of the main way, the number one way that people build wealth in America is owning a property. Number one, hands down. There's nothing else that adds more to someone's net worth than owning a property. But there's more to the story. Rentals, especially in today's context, can create a different type of financial freedom. Renters avoid the high upfront cost of buying. That's very true, including down payments and closing fees, while also dodging ongoing maintenance and unexpected repair bills. That's very true. They don't have to pay all those upfront costs, right? The average cost of owning a home beyond the mortgage payment is approximately $18,000 a year, according to a recent study by Ally Financial. Very interesting. I don't know how accurate that is, but $18,000 is a lot. I would probably say that's true. This includes property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, utilities, and adding about $1,500 per month to the mortgage payment for a typical single-family home. Honestly, $18,000 a month does not seem crazy. And if I look back, right, if I look year over year, now I went into the bank account and I looked at how much we actually spent on our property, it probably ranges up there in 18,000 or a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But that traditional view that people have that renting is throwing away money. I've said that forever. And I do still believe that. I believe in home ownership from the wealth building aspect. I still think it's the cornerstone of America, and we should aspire to purchase a property, become a homeowner, and build wealth. But also, this is really interesting, is the fact that renters avoid those upfront high costs like the down payments and the ongoing expenses. So what does that mean? And this is where I have like a differing mindset, because I do agree with that. But how many people are renting that are saving $18,000 a year? Because if you don't know that it costs $18,000 a year to operate a house outside of the mortgage, how are you going to know to save $18,000, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really add up for me. It doesn't make sense fully to me that if you are a renter, which is completely fine. Everyone at some point is a renter, I believe. I was a renter myself, but if you are a renter, then why are you going to think about saving $18,000? Like, oh, I don't own a home. So here I'm just going to save $18,000 a year, right? Like that doesn't compute to me as much. But I completely get the sentiment of it. I completely get the sentiment of it. And I understand that if you are not paying, if you are not a homeowner and you aren't paying property taxes, insurance, you aren't paying for maintenance, you aren't paying for everything else, then essentially your bills are not going to be as much as they are if you're renting, right? And this, I'm all about empowering people to do what's right for them. Do what's right for you. That's what's important. Do what's right for you. Do what makes sense for you, for your family, for whoever, right? You have to do what makes sense for you. So as a seller, you know that some of your potential buyers may also be considering continuing to rent, especially if they perceive homeownership as too expensive or risky in this market. So this could reduce demand. So positioning your home as a sound financial investment is key. Again, all this goes back to the buyer pool. When you're selling your property, you want to make sure that you reach the most amount of buyers possible. That is how you get more offers and you are successful when you're selling your property. And what I mean by successful when it comes to selling your property is you get asking price or more, you sell on your time frame, whether it's quickly, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, whatever your time frame is, and you get the best terms in the offer. That's successful. That's a successful sale, right? When you're selling your property, that is what is that. When I say successful sale, it's those three things: asking price or more, on your timeline with the best offers of the contract. And I'm not saying that it's like a win-lose situation where you as a seller win and the buyers lose. It's a win-win situation because everyone wants the same outcome. The buyer wants to buy the property. You want to sell the property. The brokers or the real estate agents representing both sides want to help you get there as well. That's what it means to be successful. And that's how you really have to position yourself when you're in that seller mindset. You have to understand that I want to create a win-win scenario. I'm on board, right? Like, you don't want to be that difficult home seller. You don't want to be the person that is holding the sale back because you're hanging on to something. So positioning is everything in this market. Positioning is everything. I recently sold a home and I positioned it really well. I had great conversations with the sellers, gave them my professional advice. We listed it at a great price. We were able to sell it in 2 days. Like I listed it, I sold it in 2 days, 2.5 days. In a market where homes are generally on the market for more than 30 days, we were able to get an offer within 2.5 days. Like, that's awesome, right? And it's positioning. They did a fantastic job getting the house ready. I did my thing with marketing, with getting the property out in front of the most possible people. And in 2.5 days, we got a great offer and negotiated, and everyone is happy now, right? So that's what I mean by positioning. You want to make sure that your home is standing out amongst all the competition. And then again, as a future buyer, right? If you decide to rent after you sell, focus on using the extra cash flow to invest in other areas. So look at taking them. If you're selling your property and you know you're going to invest, like now you have this knowledge that you're saving all this money that you're not putting into your home. You have your rent payment and that's it. Okay. So now you can take additional money and you can start building wealth in other areas. That's not just owning a home. Because you're going to sell, you're going to get a good chunk of money, you're going to pay your taxes on it. And then you're going to take some of it and then you're going to start investing in other areas because it's all about building wealth. I love building wealth. I love the idea of it. I love the concepts of it. And you don't just have to do it by owning a property. So there's other things that you can do as well if you're considering renting. And again, not everyone wants to rent. I get that. It's not for everyone, but it is an option for a lot of people right now. And that's really like what the title of this video is. Something big is going to happen in 2025. I don't necessarily know what it is. I wish I had that crystal ball, but something is going to change pretty dramatically in 2025. It's either going to be a flight to renting, or it's going to be an increase of housing inventory, or it's going to be a big decrease. Well, this would actually lead to an increase of housing inventory. It's going to be a big decrease in mortgage rates. So if mortgage rates now are actually, what I looked at it today, 6.66. Ooh, 6.66 right now. So if we get down into the low fives, that's going to unlock so much home buyers. And you know what? For the most, a big chunk of home buyers are also home sellers. A large portion of people who are buying a home are also selling a home, right? And that's going to unlock a lot of inventory. I believe, if you ask me, my professional opinion, I would say that's what I believe is going to happen. We're going to see rates continue to come down, and that is going to unlock people who have been thinking about selling and then buying something else, whether it's downsizing or upsizing or even right sizing or moving to a different area, right? Moving to a different state. That's what I think is going to happen. There's going to be a big portion of people who get unlocked as buyers, and then they're going to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to put my house on the market. I'm going to sell it, and then I'm going to become a buyer as well. And that's going to be from the reduction of interest rates. And I think we're going to see mid to low 5% in 2025. That's my opinion. Housing demand is still high in some areas while other areas are struggling to sell. So this is the inventory crisis, or the over inventory crisis in some areas. Real estate markets across the U.S. reflect a growing divide. While many markets are chronically plagued by housing shortage and low inventory, many markets, so again, the vast majority of markets are still plagued by housing shortage and low inventory. Others are struggling with a rising oversupply and stalled sales. Come on, dude. Stalled sales. In high demand markets such as California, New Jersey, Washington, Philadelphia, homes, especially affordable ones, affordable homes again, right? Who knows what that even means, are generally hard to find and competition remains fierce. That is very true. Inventory is low, keeping prices elevated and turning what should be seller's market into an increasingly inaccessible one for many buyers. This is crazy. This is just crazy. The median home price in California over the past month, $886,000. $886,000. How is that the median price? Like, that's insane. Makes me so annoyed. In contrast, other regions are facing a market slowdown. In Florida, rising homeowners insurance premiums, which you already talked about, tied to natural disasters like hurricanes, can make homeownership more of a liability than an asset. So those people in these Florida areas, they're going to be the ones that are flocking to renting instead of buying, right? Or they're going to be stuck in their homes and they're going to have to try and figure out ways to pay these increasing homeowners insurance prices and rates. Insurance rates in Florida surged 45% between 2017 and 2022. That's insane. According to a recent report According to a recent Wall Street Journal analysis, an increasing number of homeowners in the state are struggling to sell due to skyrocketing insurance rates. That's the truth. That's it. These regional market imbalances there's area by area, region by region. The Northeast, in Pennsylvania, New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut, these are all like hot areas still. The market is still very, very strong. It's very seller market driven. There's a big divide. So as a seller, and this is important, if you're in a high demand region, you may still face stiff competition despite the seller's market. This is important to know. This is really important. Focus on making your home stand out through upgrade, staging, and competitive pricing. Already talked about that, but that still applies. It still applies. If you're in a slower region, offering incentives like covering closing costs or negotiating on price might help attract buyers. And I know a lot of people do not want to hear that. If you're in these markets where it's really slow and things have stalled in these Floridas and these Texas areas, it's harder for people, especially who purchased within the past year or two, because people are finding themselves in situations where they're underwater. They're going to be selling for less than what they paid. And sometimes people have to just take that hit. I've been in contact with a home seller that I'm most likely going to be listing and selling his property. And this is around here. It's actually in the Pocono Mountains, and purchased it for a good price, put a lot of money into renovating it. And unfortunately, that market up there took a big hit, meaning it's a vacation destination area. A lot of buyers have been attracted to the Poconos, though, within the past 3-4 years due to COVID and due to being able to buy properties for cheap, put money into them, and then rent them on a short-term basis. A large portion of buyers buy homes in the Poconos for short-term rentals. That market is very driven by short-term rentals. A lot of areas, a lot of townships, a lot of HOAs started to enact different laws, restrictions. Some outright ban them. And unfortunately, they purchased a home a little over a year ago. I believe it was like a year and a half now. Put a lot of money into it. And that township became more strict on short-term rentals. And in some areas, you can't even rent on a short-term basis. So now it's like he wants, we've been going back and forth. He wants to list it and sell the property potentially because he knows he can't hold on to it as a short-term rental and actually make money. But they put a lot into it. They put a lot into it, and they might potentially be underwater on it, right? And that's just the reality of it. That's a whole different beast, right? That's real estate investing. But like a lot of people purchased homes in Austin, Texas, and parts of Florida for these higher prices, and now they need to sell for whatever reason. They want to get away from Florida. They want to go somewhere where they don't have to necessarily deal with these debilitating hurricanes, these crazy insurance premiums that are rising. They want to go somewhere else, but they're going to have to take a loss on their home, right? And that's a very tough pill to swallow for people. It's a very tough pill to swallow because as a homeowner, you take a lot of pride in owning your property, and you buy it with the intention of this home is going to appreciate over time. Like I don't necessarily, I'm okay with paying full price for this because I'm going to be here for 5, 10 or 15 years or 20 years, and it's going to appreciate in value over that time. And then things happen, right? Unforeseen things, which is very difficult to deal with. I understand that. I have a lot of empathy for people who are going through that and they need to sell. And then unfortunately, they're in these positions where they're going to, they're not going to get what they paid for it. And it's like you have to really work to sell that property. You have to offer some kind of incentive to potential buyers, right? You got to work on the pricing of it. Maybe it's reducing the price, and maybe it's offering to cover some kind of the buyer's closing costs, whatever it is. Like you have to really focus on that. And I get it. It's really frustrating. But you have to be competitive, right? You have to be competitive in order to sell your property. So that's as a seller. And then again, from the standpoint of that transition seller, I'll call you a transition seller, right? So you're selling your property, you're either moving up, moving down, or moving out, right? Up, down, moving out, moving away. When you become that buyer, consider buying in a less competitive region if you're relocating and it's flexible. And that's important because you have to really take into account, is it a flexible, or like what you're moving for, do you have flexibility there? Can you hopefully move to an area, if you got a job in a big city, can you go to the surrounding area that's maybe a little bit less competitive? Some states offer better affordability or lower insurance costs, making it easier to find your dream home at a more reasonable price. I get it. Like it's not always possible for people to do that. I completely understand. I completely understand that. And that's frustrating because we want to have some kind of control over what is happening with when we sell our properties and then when we become a buyer as well. We want to have some kind of control. It's very natural to have some kind of control over that situation. But a lot of people, unfortunately, are put into positions where they don't have control and they need to just sell. And sometimes they have to take a loss on it. And that's very unfortunate, right? And I completely get it. And I'm very empathetic to your situation. And look, it happens, right? And I've taken losses on selling properties too. So I know this. I know this, and I'm completely empathetic to your situation. But you really just have to understand that if and when you are selling, it's all about positioning. And I'm going to say that forever, for as long as I'm in real estate and selling properties, it's all about positioning your home. Oh, seller's market for selling challenges. This is the last section. It's a seller's market, but selling is far from easy. Another contradiction facing the market is that even in high demand areas of the US, selling a home isn't as effortless as it may seem. Buyers are being more selective and there are fewer bidding wars. So higher mortgage rates are also making it financially difficult, meaning even interested buyers might struggle to close deals. This is it. This is the market that we are in currently. It's not like it was in 2022 and even 2021 and then even into parts of 2023, right? Where sellers are putting their home on the market and buyers are making over asking offers, waiving inspections, waiving any kind of contingencies. That's not really the case for the majority of areas. It is for some, but for the majority, it's not. Even though it's still a seller's market, but buyers are a little bit more hesitant right now. They're holding out. They're being a little bit more selective with what they buy. They're deciding to stay where they are located, right? They're deciding to stay becoming a renter. They're deciding that they have an option of staying in their home, and instead of selling it, they're just going to stay there and watch the market. Be more selective. They're going to wait it out. The people that can wait it out, who have, they purchased before everything shot up. So they have those 4, 3, 2% interest rates. And they're like, I don't have to move. I want to move, but I don't have to move. My family does want a bigger home. We want the yard. We want this. We want that, but we don't need it. We're going to be very selective and we're going to wait it out. And that's what's happening. People are waiting it out right now. Nobody is being super aggressive unless they absolutely have to find a home. Same thing with sellers. A lot of sellers aren't being super aggressive unless they're under the gun to sell a property for relocation, foreclosure, whatever it is, right? So nobody is really just being super aggressive right now. Everyone is being a little bit more cautious, especially with everything that's happening with the election, and just things are different. Things are at a standstill right now. It's stalled, just like that. Just like the Housing Wire article was saying. So as a seller, consider if renting your home could provide steady income while you wait for the market to improve. So it's always a possibility to sell your home and do a lease back with the buyer. That's still a possibility, right? I've done it before. I've helped sellers do it, help buyers do it. You buy the home and then lease it back to the buyer, the purchaser, for an extended period of time until you find housing. That's always an option, right? Sometimes people can, in some situations, it makes sense where maybe you don't sell your home, you keep it as a rental, and then you rent yourself. Like, you become a renter if it's more affordable, right? Again, there's so many different scenarios, there's so many different situations that you can look at, but everything has to work right for you. And I get that people are under certain time constraints, financial constraints, and that make them do things that they have to do now. So at the same time, make sure your home is staged and priced competitively. Again, just repeating things. These are all my additional notes taken that I took based on that article. And as a future buyer, you got to be mindful of market conditions. If the area you want to buy in is highly competitive, you may need to be patient or consider alternative financing solutions like adjustable rate mortgages, which I don't think that's a bad idea at all, or special buyer programs that make your offer more appealing. That's actually something. I got a comment. All right. Janardin, I apologize if I said your name wrong. I bought a house with the builder at 1.35 million in 2024 this year in March. And now my worry is an appraisal. I hope the rate cut will help or ease, or I'm a big loser. Look, you bought I don't know exactly why you're having an appraisal if you bought it in March. I don't know what you're Oh, so if you bought in March of 2024, and if you're thinking, I'm assuming that you're thinking about potentially refinancing it. If you're thinking about refinancing the property and you're worried about the appraisal, yeah, I mean, that's a very valid concern to have. Generally, if you buy from directly from the builder, then you might be in a position where you got a really good interest rate, or you might not. I'm not exactly sure. There's probably a little bit more to what you're saying, but here's the fact that you should, like, if you're in that area where if you bought it for 1.35 in March and now we're in October, and if that same property for some reason is selling for less and you're thinking about refinancing for whatever reason, like, yeah, you might have to worry about that appraisal. It might not be a good idea for you to get your home to refinance. And I don't know if this is exactly the case. I don't know if you're still on, if you want to give me a little bit more information about that, but I completely understand what you're saying. I would be worried as well, but you're not a big loser, man. Don't think about it like that. I know it's very challenging because I deal with this myself. It's like, you're not a loser. You're not a loser. It's just a decision that you made that didn't necessarily pan out to how you thought it was going to. Doesn't make you a loser, right? Like, we make decisions in life and it either works out or it doesn't work out. So you either learn from it or you continue to, go down that rabbit hole and say, "Oh, I'm a loser. I can't do this. I can't do that. I didn't do this right." Like, it's a lot about mindset. And sometimes things just don't work out, especially when it comes to buying a home. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard to time the market perfectly. It's so hard to know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 months or 10 months. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen in the market. You can't look at it like that, unfortunately. All right. So let me share my screen. I'm going to go over, I got time for one. So this is the new segment of this live stream where I want to show you guys some properties that I've identified that have been sitting on the market for a long time. And this is in no way to shame anyone. This is to enlighten you as a potential home seller. Every homeowner at some point will most likely become a home seller. So I want to point out some pitfalls, help you avoid some of the mistakes that I have made, that I've seen clients make, and identify some of these properties that have been on the market. So here's one. This one is not too far from me, but probably about 15-20 minutes. Let's see. The home has been on the market for, so it's listed right now at 275. Let's just go over specs. It's 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,700 square feet, very small acreage, 0.06. This is on a busy road, right? It's on 322, so it's a more busy road. Let's see how long it's been on the market for. Usually they put that. I should know, right? I should know. It's in a good area. Honeybrook's really nice. Been on the market for. Come on, Sean. Listing terms. So May 28th, 2024. 149 days. Duh. 149 days right there. It's been on the market for 149 days. Okay. So let's see. Just first impression is this photo looks like it was taken from a computer, like it was a screenshot, which is not the way you want to present a property. I don't know. I don't know what's up with these pictures. Someone actually took them. The quality of them is not that great. Looks like this is the living room again. You just don't get like a really good feel for it. Like you can list and sell properties that need work that are in as is condition, but you can present them in a really good way that intrigues potential buyers, right? Like for this, I'm saying you should absolutely, you don't have to change anything in the house, right? I'm not saying that you have to completely renovate it, but there's ways like you can still get professional photography taken. You could virtually stage the home. That's what I would highly suggest with this property specifically, because it definitely needs some work and it's an older home. So these older homes, like once you get it's being sold as is, where is, I completely get that. I work with a lot of people who do, I myself an investor, work with people who are investors as well. I sell investment properties. But you can absolutely present this in a way where you can show to potential buyers, like, look, this is what you can make it. And that's what I talk about when it comes to positioning. Like, you can show people, like, this is what you can turn this property into. And you can only really do that by taking really great high quality pictures, do a high quality, make sure your agent's doing high quality video as well, and then virtually stage it, because so buyers can potentially see themselves in this home, right? Because that's important. You want to do it in a way where someone can see themselves living in that home. And the best way to get buyers in immediately is to present it well online. Hands down, you should absolutely do that. The write-up is actually not that bad. As is, where is, buyers. I mean, yeah, you can definitely do a little bit more with that write-up. This home was built, okay, 1800, right? So this home was built in 1800. So that's a very, very specific buyer that's going to be willing to buy a home that was built in 1800. In this area where I live in Chester County, there are a ton of historical homes, and this is definitely a historical home. And as you can see here too, it's like right in Honeybrook Borough, and 322 is somewhat of a busy road. So that's two different things that are harder to sell. So it's not that easy to build or to sell an historic home, because it takes a very specific buyer. And then being on a major highway in this area, major road, is a little bit of a downside too. But I would suggest for this person to get some pictures, stage it, do a better write-up, and really show what this house has to offer. I'll do one more for you guys. So this one was very interesting. Sometimes I just don't get it. Sometimes I really don't get homes, and I'm not saying anything about this agent at all. I'm just saying, like, I really don't get the home. Okay. So this is interesting. It's a 2-bed home, 3 baths, built in 2011. It's 4,000 square feet on little less than an acre. So let's look at this house. I don't understand how this is built in 2011. It looks like it's like 100 years old. All right. So double yellow line road, a little bit busy, set all the way back there, which is nice. I like that a lot. All right. 2011. I mean, oh, so this is interesting. So here's something. The first picture, this is professional photography right here. This is a drone shot, professional photography, professional. And then you go into the property and it's like cell phone picture, not professional, not professional, professional, professional. Okay. Not professional. So, so we're like a blend, right? We're going back and forth between professional, and it just doesn't make sense, right? And like when I'm looking at this, because I'm an investor, like I have a different mindset. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of potential here, right? I can fix this up, I can make this better. But the average buyer's not thinking about that. They're like, why is all this stuff all over the place? Clear this stuff out. Why is this all over the place? Like, what is going on here? Now I get it. The sellers could be in a position where they're like, I'm doing it completely as is, whereas I'm not moving anything, I'm not doing anything. But in a situation like this, where the home has been on the market for 262 days at 650, oh, what am I doing? 650,000. Now it dropped to 600. Like, that's pretty crazy. Okay. Now, this home is in one of the top rated school districts. Yeah. Unity Village Hatsford in the county and actually in the state as well. So this is a very highly regarded school district. So that's why I believe the agent listed it that high to start. But being a two bed, like you almost, I could see someone coming in and making a really low offer and knocking this down and just building a bigger home. But maybe they wouldn't because like what's surrounding it, they're smaller homes, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes people aren't thinking about that, right? And if you're just trying to sell the property as a property and not as a potential knockdown new build, then you're really going to want to focus on, okay, how do I build this? Like, how do I show this that people can just come in and renovate it and make it a really nice home? Um, yeah, it says a .8 acre lot, which it's actually not .8, it's .48. So that's a little bit off there. Yeah, I mean, like, look, there's there's so much you can do. You should definitely work on that. Listing descriptions are important. My clients love that I write really good listing descriptions. I do not skimp on them. I do a really good job. Um, I mean, it says that the home is going to be freshly painted on the outside before closing. Well, I guess that's nice too. I don't even know what that exterior is. There's a lot to work on here, but it's a cool house and it's located in a cool area too. But that price point, man, that is a tough price point. It's tough to build at as like, here, buy this home for $600,000, but you have to put a ton of money into making it better, you know? So this could be a pricing thing. Like, honestly, it could, I'd be interested to see and report back to you what it actually sells for, but I think that's a stretch. I think that's a stretch, man, for that price point. Look, that's all the time I have today. Unfortunately, had a great conversation. Make sure you go back if you jumped on midway or towards the end. This was a good conversation because it's like, what's going to happen in 2025 with the housing market? I don't know, but I'm here for you. If you have any questions, you want to chat, reach out. If you need an agent referral, just click that link. It's in the chat. It's in the description as well. You can always come back. If you're selling your home anywhere in the US and you want me to connect you with the right agent for you that's going to do a great job, then make sure you reach out. And if you are in the greater Philadelphia area and you want to work with me, my team, to get your property sold, just click that link, schedule an appointment with me. Look forward to chatting with you guys soon and have an awesome day.